welcome back to our Live Out Your Potential, a Solid Minds podcast series. My name is Rose Niraneza, and today we're going to be talking about, I believe, a topic that a lot of us go through. If you're just out of school or you're thinking about finding a job, we're going to be looking at how can we foster what we call mental health in spaces of work, or what we call workspaces. And I'm here with two distinguished guests with me today. And I would like to ask both of them to introduce themselves and also give a little bit of maybe the inspirations of how they got into this specific field called human resources.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Godfrey Karangwa. I'm the People and Culture Manager. I started my career as accountant. Then later I got opportunity to serve as a branch manager, where I find I have a potential to manage people. So that's how I was interested in HR. So from 2013, I'm working as a HR professional up to now.
Wow,
Thank you.
that's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rose. And happy to be here. Yeah, my name is Nancy Ntino. I'm a HR professional with 20 plus years of HR experience. Well, the first 11 years of my life or career, I was in learning and development before going into a HR generalist role about 18 years ago. Yeah, so my motivation for working with people, I think I'm very passionate about people. It's interesting because you meet different people, you meet different groups. So I really enjoy what I do, and happy to be here to share my experience in relation to mental health, which I'm very passionate about. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Before we dive in to look at specifically mental health in the workspaces and fostering that ambiance of mental health, I know when we hear terms like human resource management or people and culture, some of us can be a bit confused or feel like it has a negative connotation. So maybe, Godfrey, for you to start, could you just, for our listeners and viewers today, give a very brief definition of what people and culture is, or even human resources? How come these two different terms? Are they the same? Are they different? Maybe. And then Nancy can also add on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Generally, people used to say HR, and like thinking as a negative side, like firing and hiring. But generally, HR is more than that. It's about the culture of organization. It's about the whole life of organization, starting with the recruitment, the whole life employee within the organization, career development, mental health, and the whole life of organization is among the people and culture is what we deal with.
Wow, that's so wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I think it's pretty much the same thing. It all depends on the organization, the sort of value they have placed on human resources. So you find some organizations, rather than calling it a HR lead, they'll call it head of people or people and culture, as Godfrey has explained. And there are others where they will say chief happiness officer, for example.
I see.
Yeah. So it all depends on the kind of value that an organization has placed. But I consider it as just semantics. It is still the same agenda of making people productive, working with people, ensuring that they're having a good employment experience.
I see.
And so what kind of support can you provide, whether your people and culture are in line to the organizational strategy. Yeah, thank
That's
you.
really nice. Thank you to you both. I think that does definitely help us to kind of ask the first question, which is about what is the current conversation when it comes to culture in the office or in the workspaces. So I want to first ask Nancy, when you hear mental health, especially in the workspaces, what do you think are the most common or frequent conversations being taking place?
Thank you. Yeah, I think the thing is about, when I remember many years back when I started my career, we were not even human resources managers. We were personnel management, where we were just paper pushers, ensuring people report on time, clock in and clock out, You keep on following them to ensure they are doing their job. But to see the evolution to a point where we are now looking at the whole person, not just what they can bring to work. I think that has become quite, it's interesting to observe what we are doing in the space. So we are looking at employees not just as tools to deliver what an organization wants or expects, but we are also taking into consideration who they are and looking at it as a whole person and what they bring and what other things may affect that productivity and how we can support them. So in terms of culture and mental health in the workplace, so seeing that evolution from what it was in the past to see a lot of attention being given to mental health in the workplace. And a personal example that I would like to share, I think prior to COVID, we did not have a lot of focus on mental health in the workplace. But I think COVID really made everyone actually realize how important it is to have programs of mental health, awareness, creating awareness because of the things. So there was a lot of disruption. So people now had to work from home.
Right.
So quite disconnected from their physical offices. So you're having a workforce that was required to deliver. The only thing that had changed, of course, was not just the office, but the mindset also had required to change. Yeah, so I think it's a topic that is getting a lot of prominence and a lot of focus, and we are seeing a lot of change because we can no longer ignore that mental health is a key ingredient to ensuring that we have a productive workforce, as well as ensuring that we are also taking care of those employees. So it's not just getting the most out of them, but also ensuring that we are supporting them to be the best persons or the best versions of themselves. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, you wanted to add?
Thank you. Yes, to add on, in the past, the mental health was considering like a personal issue or something for the psychologist. But now it's become something very important. With organizations now a strategic tool for the organization because it helping it's a branding tool for the organization. The organization that have mental health and wellness, well-being activities in their organization tend to attract more of staff because they are feeling comfortable, valued, and the organization care about their mind.
And just to ask directly to you, Godfrey, when we think about the evolution of how the well-being of employees and staff members are, what do you think you see is the most significant shift in employer attitudes when it comes to mental health in the workspace?
Yeah, currently, the mental health, it's as I mentioned, the leader are no longer considering mental health a cost for the organization, something individual, something that is there to spend just for spending money. It's a priority for the organization. But again, there is still some resistance when you look on some organizations. But again, the mental health is just a shift from supporting to the strategic where people, if you don't care, you may not achieve the results of your organization. So to achieve the results, you need to also to think about the mental health of your staff.
So what I'm getting as the overall shift, at least in the workspaces, I think both of you have touched on it quite well, where there's this shift of not just looking at the success of any institution or company, but now looking at it as how the employer's well-being or even the staff environment plays a huge impact on how successful those institutions will perform.
Exactly.
Be it in their deliverables, in the assignments they have to do, but even in projects at not just the national level, but even maybe global level, perhaps. Is that correct to say?
Exactly.
Right. Thank you so much for that. Given that you both have worked in very extensive amounts of time when it comes to looking at well-being and wellness of not just employees but the institution as a whole. I'd love to hear from both of you if there's been any initiatives that you have organized which have been effective in fostering mental well-being to the staff members you've worked with.
That's great. Yeah. Yes, I can go first. Yeah, indeed. And linking mental health to human resources, it's not just a one-off thing where you have an employee assistance program and you say, well, I think we have solved the problem. So, I mean, anyone who has a problem or they are experiencing any sort of stress, they should, speak to a third party for counseling. Incorporating mental well-being into the employee life cycle is how I would like to look at it. Because the employee life cycle starts with the moment when you're attracting new employees, which is, and before even that, it's also about the job design. How we are designing the jobs to ensure that, is this job sufficient? Can this person actually perform the job without necessarily experiencing burnout? Yeah. So mental well-being is not just a one-off event or an activity that employers should say we have an EAP or employee assistance program, but it starts in the entire, actually should be incorporated, embedded in all the aspects, the employee life cycle. So from the point of job design to recruitment to onboarding. So when you onboard new people, are they feeling overwhelmed, knowing especially performance anxiety that comes with new joiners? They want to demonstrate they can perform the job, but are we supporting them, or are we supporting them, or are we setting them up for failure? Then the next thing is performance management. Are we setting goals that they are able to achieve or attain without setting unrealistic goals that at the end of the year they are not able to perform?
Right.
Then also talent management. So the entire cycle from recruitment to onboarding to performance management to talent management, up even to the exit management process, ensuring that employees are supported in the entire cycle. So it's not just a one-off event. No. So now to answer your question, some of the things that have had the opportunity to incorporate in that cycle has included even having webinars as a way of creating awareness, mental health awareness, people knowing, or if I'm feeling like this, what do I need to do? If I'm having stresses, even in my personal life, when I come to the office, what do I need to do? So to say it is okay to feel not okay, yeah? And these are the resources that one can actually access. Another one was we also do health days, where we invite, in other organizations, many organizations where we have a health talk or health days. So incorporating both physical well-being, where people get to know their BMI, their sugar levels, their high blood pressure, readings, as well as speaking into a counselor, yeah? So that they're able to now realize, so you're not just creating awareness about physical symptoms, because oftentimes mental issues actually come in the sort of physical symptoms, could be headaches, could be insomnia, and so on. So incorporating all that. And then also having mental health champions within the organization. So why is that important? Because many times people may not want to go to their manager and say, I'm struggling. And having mental health champions encourages also a culture of vulnerability, that I can actually speak to you because we are colleagues, we are peers, without any judgment. Because many people do not want to, it has always been, there's a lot of stigma, when someone says, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or they think that they can actually, either they can lose their job and so on. So having that, including even managers, because I've noticed that even in many organizations, the higher you go, the colder it gets. You don't have a lot of friends or people that you can share. So having a peer-to-peer support group within an organization is one of the excellent ways that we can actually encourage mental health or mental well-being in the workplace. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe what I can add on also awareness. Awareness for the staff is also important, just for them to know the early sign of mental health. Maybe there is an anxiety, there is distress, just to understand it's okay, just to disclose, and they already know the early sign of that. That
Yes.
awareness also is needed. Also, there is a need to embed the mental health and well-being into the policy of organization. That's for the people to be aware of what is within the organization. There's also this kind of promoting the. You see, with this kind of technology, we always having our outlook within the laptop. We go home, we continue working. So
Right.
we need also to promote the culture of not working after the work, and promoting that one is also helping to just people to work within their expected time, focus priority, and then when they go home, they manage to balance their personal life and their working life.
Yes, that is so insightful. Actually, I had one specific question for Nancy regarding the life cycle of employees' life cycle. From now a manager's perspective, when we think about implementing mental wellness throughout the entire life cycle, is there an area that you believe that a lot more companies could maybe emphasize on? I know you mentioned job design, and that really piqued my interest. But from your experience and your expertise, because you've been in this field for more than 20 years, and from different companies that you've worked with, where do you think that mental wellness can be amplified more within that life cycle?
I think as much as it would be important to have it embedded in one particular one, I think it is the entire, because the moment you join, you have to go through the entire cycle. I mean, as a new employee. The way I would look at it is training managers to be able to recognize burnout, to recognize any stressors or any issues that the employees are having. I think that's an area that, because line management responsibility lies, or rather people management responsibility lies with managers. And managers spend most of the time, for us, we are just enablers as human resources, providing resources and providing policy, direction on various areas.
And structure.
Yeah, and instructions. But then managers, because they are responsible for hiring, we support them to hire.
Yes.
They have to onboard, they have to train, on the job training, performance management. So training them to recognize what are the challenges. And I think another area that also can be amplified is also new interventions. No longer in the past where you needed to be present in the office, 9 to 5, 8 to 5. If you're not present, you're not working. And that is where we are coming from, past generations. If you did not show up, then you are not working. But things have changed. Technology has changed. You can work remotely. So being intentional about having a flexi work policy where people can work remotely, going to offices on set days when maybe there are key meetings happening to encourage team integration. But also being mindful that people may not be able to report to work at the same time, 8 o'clock. Everybody's has, I see this all the time. Contract of employment says working hours 8 to 5. But what if I'm not able to make it at 8 because I have to drop off my kids in school? So also encouraging flexi hours, where people are able to, and being intentional about that and respecting people to deliver without necessarily expecting them to be present. So for me, I think a key theme is training managers to be more aware. So it's not just about cracking the whip, you need to deliver this and this. Where are we with this? That's a very common phrase with managers. But them going through some special training where they know how to manage people, being aware and recognize any stressors, or when their teams or individuals in their teams are having any starting to exhibit any signs of burnout or stress or anything related to their mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And kind of to add on to that, you mentioned how there should be an emphasis more on training managers in different sectors and companies, as well as being able to identify those early signs of burnout and stress. And when we think about now implementing these programs, I wanted to ask Godfrey, from your experience, maybe you may have actually been involved in organizing specific programs or maybe been on the side, but I wanted to hear from you, what are some common barriers you believe companies or organizations may face when they implement mental health programs?
Yeah, thank you very much, Lois, for the question. Yeah, when implementing the wellness program, sometimes we have there is a lack of awareness. People don't know more. They are not able to open up. So it is a challenge for the organization to implement the wellness within the organization, because people, they are fearing for being retaliated, and that's why the training is needed for the manager to open up, to speak, and just to break that barrier of not speaking, for the staff to be open and speak. So again, also the budget. When you look on the organization, the counseling is like some specialized institution in counseling, and it requires budget. And sometimes the organization don't have a budget. And so, as well, some of our managers think like having a budget for the wellness is like wasting the resources. And sometimes they don't have much interest on mental health. And of course, for some organization, they ask you, what is the return on investment? If we are investing on this program, what are we going to gain? So this awareness, this education, this training need to be there. Also, there is also another factor. There is lack of the data.
Lack of data. Interesting.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sometimes we don't have the data to base on, just to convince or to build the case, and we take it in general without basing on the data. Also, it's still also a challenge.
I see there's some common themes shared from Godfrey regarding awareness from the higher ups, the senior management, that plays a pivotal role in how the culture at the office will be when it comes to implementing mental health programs or just mental well-being across the entire company or organization. And sharing also data. I think we're in this day and age, I believe both can agree that we always want to have something tangible when it comes to understanding the validity or the effectiveness of something, especially when it comes to just performance or deliverables on something. But I wanted to ask Nancy specifically, when we talk about now awareness, not just from the staff level, but now even senior level, how does company culture play in creating mentally healthy workspaces, specifically looking at leadership? So I want to first ask that question.
Yeah. I think a key ingredient to creating a good workplace that embraces mental health practices is an environment which should start with psychological safety. Psychological safety meaning that people, creating an environment where people are free to speak their mind, to share their concerns, and then linking them to the proper resources or experts who can actually address those needs. Yeah. Now we find that we keep on using the word psychological safety, but how receptive are managers or supervisors to criticism Or when someone says, I don't like your leadership style, you shout at me, you know? Yeah, so how receptive. Or it could even be feedback about how a particular task should be performed. So creating that as safety, I think, is really, and that would also come in the training for managers, you know. So not taking feedback, especially feedback that is not, very pleasant, not taking it personally and looking at it from an objective point of view. Yeah, so creating that psychological safety, I think it's really, really, really important. I think another thing is also regular check-ins on staff to do pulse surveys, engagement surveys, which is something which is very common in progressive organizations. But then it's not just about doing the survey, but it is also acting on the feedback. Yeah, because one of the dangers that a lot of organizations do, they have engagement survey or pulse satisfaction surveys, and well-being appears as a main theme or as a major theme. And some of the things that appear there, you find as an example is fatigue, burnout, inability to go on leave because there's so much work to do, managers contacting people even after hours. So, and again, going back to the technology, now we have gadgets. And like in the past where you switch off at 5, you go home until tomorrow, yeah? But now you have your laptop, you have your phone, which is linked to your email. So you find a lot of people saying, I'm not able to cope because work is following me home. So creating an environment, as you know, even policies that really require managers to refrain contacting staff or their team during after office hours, except if it's an emergency. Yeah. And then, of course, even encouraging people to rest and recuperate. Yeah. So we know it's a labor law requirement that people must take leave every year. Employers are obligated that you must give someone their leave. But organizations, employers, are they intentional that when someone takes their leave, they completely go on leave? I mean, there are instances where I'm part of a HR network where people say managers would contact even people on leave and say, just come back for one day. Yeah.
Yes.
So, which hinders the employees' intention to rest fully and recuperate. Yeah. So there are many, many ways, I think, and a lot of these things are there, but it's the goodwill. Yeah. I think what is missing sometimes is a goodwill. So policies exist. You have policies that say everybody's entitled to this number of days. You have, other policies that say you can work but remotely, but then you still find that managers, and this is why I think for enforcement, managers will need to be trained to create that psychological safety, to see how they can support their team members whenever they have any mental health challenges and directing them, and of course in collaboration with HR, directing them to the proper resources. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Nancy. As we see, I don't know if you wanted to add something
so
first.
even the manager themselves.
True.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're also human.
They're so human.
Yeah.
Because there is tendency of the manager think they are like have to care about the others and forget themselves.
Right.
They also need to care about themselves, build the capacity for their colleagues. There is an example where the manager don't go on leave because they say, if I'm going on leave, my work will not be done. So, and that hinder the manager to go on leave. So the manager needs also to care about themselves. That's how they will be able to care from others.
Yes. Actually, to ask Godfrey, we're now coming into an age where people maybe in their late 20s and early 20s believe in this thing called hustle culture, meaning that they feel like they have to keep grinding, keep working hard and hard and hard, but there's no element of rest. So I want to ask you specifically, especially for those who are trying to go into spaces of employment, how can we, maybe what's something you can encourage this generation coming into the field feeling like it's hard to take rest, it's hard to take a time, for yourself. there's that element, and then maybe we'll talk about employability afterwards. But what's something you could share to the young generation, or even those who are just feeling like they have to keep going nonstop when it comes to work?
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, yeah. First of all, the organization itself have to have that kind of like a policy in place, encouraging everyone to go and take their rest. But again, the young one have to think of their life, because educate the young, encouraging the young to take care of their life, because at the end of the time, they want to get more money, get more activities, but again, they need also to think of their personal life. What is the benefit of getting money and not eat the money you suffered for?
And use that money, yes.
And use that money. So it is good that the young people understand, take themselves and see how they feel, and also accept it, not forcing, and find some time to get rest. Yes.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that question is because there's been some very unfortunate cases where we see people in their maybe 35 and below collapsing at the office because of what you mentioned, burnout. And we see that they maybe don't have a safe space to go to a manager or to their supervisor, and they keep all this stress and anxiety, and then out of the blue, maybe they also work outside of the required hours, and one day they're just at the office and they collapse. And unfortunately, that their lives end there. So I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add, Nancy, regarding this dichotomy of working all the time, but then the implications and consequences of that.
Yeah, well, maybe not to provide a solution, but just also based on my own observation that a lot of people are potentially working themselves to death. Yeah, I think rest is very important. I know rest is very important. It's not a coincidence that even for those who are Christians know that God worked for 6 days and on the seventh day he rested. Yeah. So rest is really, really important. It's a necessity. Yeah. And the challenge is you find a lot of people don't recognize that rest is important. They consider it that the more they are working, the more they're able to prove themselves at the expense of their health, at the expense of their body. Yeah. So I think to viewers and to those who are listening in, just emphasizing that it is important to take breaks, to take rest.
Yeah.
And even in the course of a day, I mean, look at it when you come into work at 8 o'clock, you break for lunch. Yeah. The country where I come from, Kenya, in the labor laws, it is actually embedded that after 5 hours of work, you must take a break. Yeah. So to show you that rest is really, really important. So if we don't change, or even employers don't encourage or start creating that awareness about the linkage between ill health with burnout and fatigue, we will continue witnessing a lot of those kind of cases. So it is important having those policies in place, but then not just policies, but practice. Ensure that we are practicing what we are preaching, that the policies are actually being implemented to the letter to ensure that we don't lose any more people in the workforce because of too much work. Yeah, and for employers particularly, I think we have an obligation to ensure that we are not working people to their death. Yeah. It's a moral obligation. It is a duty of care to employees. And I know in some organizations where the more you can demonstrate that you're working harder, the more work is piled on you.
Right.
Yeah. Which of course you end up sleeping very little. So there's no pride in saying, I only slept for 3 hours. There are people who walk around with that on their sleeve. I only sleep 4 hours. Well, it's going to catch up one day.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you don't rest now, the body will force you to rest. Yeah. So that's all I can say. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially again for when there is a performance based, like a bonus based on performance. It's also an issue that can it takes some people just to work hard just to get money. Also, they need to look on their life and also not focusing on the money.
Yeah, it's actually great insights that you've both shared, and I really appreciate it. And I kind of wanted to now go on the other side. As a young person myself, I always hear unfortunate stories that young people are really struggling to be employed. Employability has become challenging. You know, a lot of people struggle, and I think it also comes back to what was mentioned earlier about the shift in the workspaces. Back in the days, people just had one source of income, and that was okay. And as generations and society is shifting, also the workspace is shifting. What work looks like is shifting. And I wanted to maybe ask both of you, starting with Godfrey, why do you think young people are struggling nowadays with getting employed? I know it's a big question, but maybe I can try and break it down slowly, and we can break it down together slowly.
Yeah, so I don't know if I can give the
absolutely, that's totally fine.
the answer. But again, if you try to see that people went to school just waiting to go for employment, but again, not sometimes create some employment.
I see. Okay.
So you see, like, and now with the digital, there is some different activities that they use, the young people can do and generate the money, and even without like suffering much. So I also, the young people also need to think on that area, on creativities. Like there is a creative industry. But again, when you say creative industry, there are some people use it on the bad ways.
Yes.
So they need to do wisely, use it in the good ways, not in the bad ways, because the creative, this kind of like TikTok or YouTube, Instagram, and people start using it in bad way. So they need to look on, there is a decent professional that people can do and earn money. So I would encourage like people, the young people, think out of the box, not just always focusing on the looking on the job in the organization, because when you look, the job is of course the employment are not. The job creation are not very many. The organization that offering the job are not many, but the student completing their university are many. So they are suffering also the problem of mental health, because they have completed their study, they didn't get the job. So to deal with this one, they need also to think out of the creative activities that is available on using their digital platform. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe I could add that, indeed, yes. I think unemployment rates are on the rise, especially the percentages. I think it's a huge problem in Africa, where we have uneducated young force, young generation, highly educated, who, of course, when they went to school, the motivation was finish your studies, you get a job.
Right.
But where are those jobs? So we are churning out more graduates than we are creating more jobs.
Right.
And that leads also to mental health issues, We find, I don't have the data, but I know number of suicide, substance abuse, alcoholism, frustrated workforce or frustrated young people, because of the inability to secure proper employment.
Right.
Yeah, so for me, and this is just my personal view, I think I would say young people can also, as Godfrey says, think outside the box, rather than look at white-collar jobs, which was the thing of the past, where you knew you leave a job, you get an office job. They can also embrace blue-collar jobs, I think there are gaps even in terms of where you roll up your sleeves, where you can do technical jobs. Yeah. So it will require some sort of innovation, change in attitude, not necessarily thinking about being employed in an office, but look at other opportunities where they can be relevant and utilize their skills. I think also it is could also be our education system, which has not prepared people to be artisans or to be technical staff or or to use their hands. But it has been more skewed to having people living and getting a job in an office. Yeah, so I think there would require some shifts in terms of how the kind of courses that are offered. But once they're out, the degree is just a stepping stone, and to use that opportunity to actually venture into what would work for them. Yeah.
I think, as you mentioned, both of you, there's this element of, as society is shifting, workspaces are shifting, but also the unfortunate reality that sometimes our academic systems don't really prepare us for the reality when it comes to the workspaces. And now it's up to this young generation to find those creative innovations and possible job markets. They say those who can't do teach, or whenever there's gaps, you kind of fill those gaps, which it can work for. I guess it can work to an extent, but I think it also shows us that there's also much conversations to be had about that. Of course, we can't. We don't have all the answers now, but to just allow the listeners and viewers to know that it's not their fault that they assumed, oh, maybe if I have the master's or the PhD, that I would find something in that domain. We hear a lot of cases of young people, maybe they want to go into one field when they study, and then once they go out, they realize because the job market is really difficult, they now venture out, as you mentioned. So there's nothing wrong with venturing out. But maybe to add, when we think now about innovations and just trends, emerging trends that are happening, I want to first ask Nancy, what do you think you anticipate will significantly impact the workplace, especially in this age of technology? So I wanted to first hear from you, Nancy.
I think what I anticipate that will impact our workplace, our mental health, I think it's gaining traction. It is now going to be a thing. Yeah. So when we are talking about performance management, we will also be talking about employee well-being. So it's something that we can no longer ignore. Yeah. And especially because the future of work is changing. Yeah. So we now have AI. Yeah, which a few years ago we didn't know.
Right.
So even some of the jobs that we know them as they are now will be irrelevant in the not so distant future. So knowing that things are going to evolve, how are we prepared, or employers being prepared to embrace what we can already see is going to be the future of the workplace? So I see remote work, even with COVID. Let me give the example of COVID. When COVID came and there was a complete shift even on the way we worked. Who knew that you could actually have a meeting from your house?
That's true.
But it has been normalized now that we have now gone back from COVID. It is now business as usual, but we borrowed a lot of the things that we did during COVID. So having Zoom meetings, Teams meetings, we work virtually, So a lot of things actually were normalized. So looking into the future also, I foresee, as a younger generation comes into the workforce, the way they work is completely different from the oldies, yeah? Many of them want to work for fewer hours, so we must be ready to adapt that, yeah? Many of them are not attracted to a 9 to 5 job.
Yes.
Yeah, they also want to work remote, full remote. Yeah, that so long as I do my work and I send you, why do I need to be present? Many of them don't want to be tied down by dress code. Yeah, for
That's a good
example.
point. Yeah,
So I
true.
think we will have to embrace some of these changes that are coming in. We may have a lot of resistance to change, but it is a reality. And so embracing those changes and ensuring that we are supporting the newer workforce or the younger workforce as they come into the workplace, so to ensure that it is actually going to be attractive for them to work. So those are there are many, many things, but those are some of the ones that I can actually think about at the moment. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So, Godfrey, hearing what Nancy has just shared, what do you think could be a good starting point for current employers and staff to prepare for these anticipations? What could be the first steps in preparing?
Of course, maybe I think so they need to think of the way of measure the performance.
Okay.
Yes, performance should not be measured by the presence of the workplace. The measure to be the KPI need to be set very well and allow people to be flexible as long as they provide the results.
I see.
Yes.
So these KPIs or key performance indicators.
Yes.
So you believe that could be a good starting point on how
Yes.
we change from not looking at it as
Yeah.
being physically present, but
Yeah.
rather, do you deliver what you're asked?
Exactly. Yeah, because when the KPI are well setted and people are understand very well their KPI and are free to work from their respected timelines, so it's okay for them. They can do their job and not cause any issue for me related to mental health because they are now work from their choices.
Right.
But organizations have also to cope with, as Nancy was saying, to cope with these changes. The leaders, because the leaders have been in this position, in this working condition for a long time. They need a shift from their self. Just changing the mindset.
Right.
Then the job is no longer being present at work, but the deliverable is the more important. What have you delivered whenever you are? Yeah. That is the more important than always focusing on looking what is someone.
Or even how they're dressed, for example.
Yes.
Of course, there has to be some limits about appearance. Of course, it can't be too extreme, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you look on the banking sector, it's where we have people wearing suits
Yes.
and the front office. But there is some profession that people can work from home remotely. Without requiring them to be in the office and still delivering. Because if you are working on the policy, if you are working on the strategic activities, it doesn't require you to be always present at the working place.
Right.
You can be delivering, working from home, but again, provide the results. Yes.
Actually, I wanted to ask an additional question, given that you do have a lot of expertise in certain, what we call emergency or required services like banking, health sector. From your experience, especially when there's been drastic shifts in workspaces like during COVID, how was that during that time for you when now people are now encouraging flexible hours, but then how did that impact on the negative side? Yes, there was a positive, but I'd like to hear maybe what was some of the consequences of these immense shifts or
when
quick
you look
shifts?
on the setting, usually the infrastructure in the banking sector was not allowing people to work remotely.
Right.
But with the current new Zoom team, people during the COVID, they were able to work from home. So the challenge was on the front office staff, where people,
The first responders.
yes, where people provide money with just give the cashiering,
Right.
giving money to the
I see.
client. But again, with the financial institutions are now building the infrastructures, the mobile banking, people are no longer they also need to go to the bank just to get money. They just need to be educated on the importance of using the banking online services. So this will reduce the time of requiring people to be always present at the banking hall. So that is also something. But again, there is a much more education
That's
from
needed.
the side that is needed from the side of client, especially for the small in the villages where there is like the low income earners starting
I see.
with a limited knowledge in the banking system, just to educate them how to use the system they have and trust the system, because people thinking when I go to the bank is when my money will be secured. Myself, I took the money and I'll be sure that I banking with the bank.
Right.
But with this kind of education, also it will reduce this kind of always asking people to be present at work.
At work.
Yeah.
And if I can also add on, I think it is the reality now. In fact, in some organizations or companies in North America, where some roles are fully remote,
Yes.
it's not uncommon to hear someone say, I work for this organization for the past 2 years and I don't know my colleagues. I've not met them in person, rather. Yeah, and you find that it gives people the flexibility. You are working in your own space. Of course, it comes with some other challenges where you are not able to separate or leave, stop working at 5 o'clock because your office is your bedroom, is your everything.
Right.
Yeah. So those are some of also the challenges. Yeah. So so it's now a reality, where roles are fully remote based on what Godfrey has said, based on deliverables.
Right.
Yeah. So duty station or location is not listed. That if you sign a contract, these are your KPIs, and you are assessed on performance on that. And I think in addition to what we can do to anticipate for these changes, also changing legislation. Yeah, we are changing legislation. Who said that you have to be physically present somewhere? Yeah, and then also change where in legislation, sometimes even compelling employers to take even mental well-being into consideration. Even as part of contracting employees or their workforce, because some of our labor laws, some of them have not been refreshed in a long time.
Right.
They have not taken some of these new recent changes into consideration. So I think there is also need for changes in labor laws to actually to amplify the need for mental well-being and employers taking mental health seriously in the workplace. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for those insights. As we're gearing closer to the end, I know we've kind of covered so many different areas when it comes to workspaces and mental health and well-being. And I think sometimes what's really complicated to discuss in spaces and at the office and work, be it hybrid, be it fully remote or even in person, it's how do you now address someone who is actually struggling mentally as your colleague or your peer or your friend at the workspace. So I wanted to hear first from Godfrey.
So first of all, I think first of all, they need to acknowledge and accept how they feel. And of course, after acknowledge, they need to search for the help, approach the manager, approach their peers.
Those champions, mental health champions.
Mental champions.
I see.
Just to advise and help. And if necessary, looking for the counseling. Yes. But again, organization need to provide that kind of facilities.
Right.
Yeah. For them to be comfortable and seek help, get help where they can, whenever they feel they're not feeling okay. Yes. But again, also, in addition to that, they also to prioritize the rest. They need to rest on pause. refresh and also come again with refreshing mind. Yeah.
Maybe I could just add on. I mean, of course, a colleague who is struggling, it takes a lot of courage to approach someone and say, I have these problems, especially if it's a personal problem. Or it could even be a work-related problem that is causing them grief, yeah? And many people may not be comfortable. Why? Because of the stigma. I think one of the key elements or one of our biggest undoing is that we have not encouraged vulnerability, where we are required to be strong to show we are capable.
Yes.
Yeah, but it is okay not to be okay, So I think starts from there, yeah? That I'm not feeling okay today. And because of these thoughts that I'm having, I'm not able to deliver my job.
Right.
Or it is affecting how I'm seeing things. And of course, coming from a point where there is no stigma, So I think to have those open conversations, psychological safety, having an environment that encourages psychological safety. And how can we do that? Because if someone is having problems and they're struggling, a lot of people will not go to their manager.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they may not have a good relationship, and not necessarily that, but because of the power distance, you are afraid, how am I going to be judged? I might be judged harshly, yeah? And so what Godfrey has talked about, having trained mental health champions, peer-to-peer support. So you have someone, whether it is within your department or within your shop floor, that you can actually go to, who can now direct you that this is the proper resources or tools that you should access. And then also embedding in the medical aid, where in the absence of an employee assistance program, having counseling services embedded, which are anonymized, the employee can access that without, any reference or without any without their name actually being recorded.
Right.
So there are many ways that we can actually support people, and it will be through the peer-to-peer organizations having an employment assistance program, and encouraging even people to take time off when they are either coping with something that, if they're coping and they think they're overwhelmed, to ensure that they're in the right state of mind. Yeah.
And it goes back to all that we've mentioned, awareness that that mental health is important, but also understanding that it should be at all levels in the company or organization, not just at the staff level, but even senior management and everyone in between is impacted and plays a big role. And I think as we close, if there's one thing you'd love our listeners and viewers to take away from mental health in the workplace, Godfrey and Nancy, maybe I'll start with Nancy. What would that be?
I think I always say your health is your wealth, and your health is not just entirely physical health. It is your physical, your mental. It is actually also prioritizing on that. I think that's a key takeaway, something that I would like to share with the viewers and the listeners, that we should not take it for granted. The same way that I have a headache at times when I have a flu,
Right.
you take time off to recuperate, to recover. We should actually take matters of mental health very seriously, because ultimately it also catches up on the physical. So that's a key takeaway from me. Thank you
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, to add on what Nancy have said, mental health is not a personal issue. It's also the priority for the leader in the organization. They need to take it as a strategic law, just helping in motivation of the staff, in retention. And of course, people feel valued if they have the services that can help to play them in their mental health, and they are leading to want to join that organization and work in that environment. So it is a responsibility of a manager to always embrace and embed the wellness and mental health activity services and program within the organization. Take it as a priority, not a must to have, or a nice to have.
Nice to
Yeah.
So we had the privilege of having both Nancy and Godfrey with us, and I know there are many listeners and viewers today who are either thinking about what they want to do, thinking about what they're passionate about and how they can get income out of it, but also seeing the struggles from maybe the higher or the older generation when it comes to the workspace, and how mental health is truly something that is important and a priority in any type of workspace, be it in a company, be it at the comfort of your home. So this has been episode 17 on fostering an ambiance of mental health in the workspace and the workplace. And we want to thank everyone who tuned in through YouTube or even just through our listening platforms like Spotify. So we hope that you do join us again very soon. We have different platforms that we would love for you to follow or to like, and as well. Until next time, stay tuned. Keep subscribing to our YouTube channel, and just know that we do hope that you live to your fullest potential.